We don't need to be making noise like that. That's aggressive. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Elizabeth. Much appreciated.
Welcome. Happy to be on.
So far, you've been my most requested female guest, if that is any indication of your accolades, at least to probably my immediate followers or mutual followers on social media, I guess probably would be the best way to put that. So, cool. Garen and I were talking, he's going to possibly join at some point, but we were like, we need some female diversity on here on the show. And I was like, well, I don't really have any female friends. Garen's obviously married. And we were thinking, who would be a good candidate. And I was going to put it out there into the universe, but I had more than one person say that I should talk with you. So here we are, especially after a conversation with Bill. Yeah. I love your festive Hawaiian shirt as well.
Thanks.
Looks very nice. Did you get that here or buy that for your trip to Hawaii last year, or did you just have
No, I think I actually bought it afterwards, just because, I don't know, for the summer. And yeah, I just saw it and liked it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, for people who don't know, then I guess, how would you, not in a job interview way, but sum up yourself, like I'll give you an example. Like if I had to answer that question, like as simple of a question as that is to people who don't know who I am, I would say, I'm a competitive individual that was born in Japan, lives in Hawaii, and likes to, do fun things. I'm married and I got 2 dogs, right? Like something simple like that. So like, how would you sum up either yourself currently or your life or anything like that for anybody who might not know who exactly you are, what you stand for?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm Elizabeth. And I grew up in Ohio, live in Ohio, but I'm an avid traveler and I like to do things that put me out of my comfort zone. And I run a lot and enjoy it. And it's probably the only thing I'm really competitive about. And I have an awesome partner who I live with in Cleveland.
Interesting that you call him partner.
Yeah. I like the term partner.
Yeah, I know.
That's just
that's just a thing people say now. Well, good place to start then. Something I actually wanted to talk with you about is travel then. So I know that, obviously my wife and you were both in Europe at the same time. You were in Iceland right around the same time I was in Iceland, different friend groups for different trips there. But maybe where somewhere else that you've been, obviously you've been Hawaii here too to visit us, but maybe where somewhere else you've been that like I wouldn't know about that you thought is a cool place. Obviously Europe, we could talk about that for days, right? But have you been anywhere else that's cool?
Been to Utah a few times and I really like Utah. Just between like Salt Lake and the mountains there are just so much different than in the South and the kind of more desert area.
Right.
I really like that area, but I think one of my the biggest trips that stuck out in my head was the first time I decided to just travel alone. I went to Yosemite in California. I was like a year or 2 out of college and just decided that, my cousin made it to nationals in gymnastics in Long Beach, and none of my other family members were really going to go besides like her immediate family. I'm like, I've never been to California. I really want to do some hiking out there. So I flew to San Francisco for a day, stayed there in a hostel, and then joined this like hiking group for a weekend and just stayed in a tent with another woman that was there by herself. And she's from New Zealand. She was really cool. And pretty much everyone on the trip was from another country besides the US, except like one family that was there. So it was really cool. Just meet a bunch of different people. We hiked for 3 days and camped for 2 nights. And it was a cool experience. And Yosemite is beautiful. I mean,
yeah, it looks beautiful. I've never been, but it looks amazing.
Yeah. And then I think we've talked about before the documentary Free Solo, where Alex Honnold free climbs what is it, El
Okay.
Capitan, and we like stood down there in the valley and just looked up at it, and it's huge. I mean, it's crazy, and I'm super afraid of heights, so it's just like intense.
It's amazing to think that an individual can do something like that, but it's almost even more incredible to think, how did the earth get like this in the first place, right? Like, what an aspiration to be able to say like, oh, I want to go free solo El Cap, or even just climb El Cap, or, you know, just to be standing in the presence of that, that level of, you know, it's almost like architecture that was done by the earth, right? Like how did it get there? You know, was it a river that formed that? Was it something from a meteor strike however long ago? That to me, that part of traveling and seeing, you know, like even here in Hawaii, like getting to go to the different islands and seeing how different they are, you know, in one little state, and they're called different counties. It's just interesting to me to think like, okay, this is amazing, this view, but like, how did it get like this in the first place?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for
know.
sure.
Did
Yeah,
you make any friends on that trip that you are still friends with, that like you still speak with, like that lady from New Zealand? Do you ever talk to any of those people, like outside of even just social media at all, or anything?
Just a few of them. I think I'm still friends with the girl from New Zealand. There's a woman from Australia who was there with her daughter, who was maybe 7 or 8 years younger than me at the time, but she kind of just like, she's really into like ultra running, and that was like the first time I had really met someone that was into that. And so she was super cool, and we stayed friends through like social media, and she just like randomly reaches out every once in a while and we'll talk, but that's about it. Yeah.
Is that a type of trip, like not necessarily, you know, going like recommending this part of it, like where you went, but like doing a solo trip like that, especially, you know, before you have like a life partner, or you're married or whatever, even if you have friends, which you do, like, is doing a solo trip like that something that you would recommend to other people, like men or women? Like, was that like a prolific, like life-changing experience, or was it just cool to go where you went specifically? Like, I guess I'm curious about that aspect of it, because I know other people do that. Like my neighbor, for example, did that. She did a big trip. She went to literally like 40 countries or something like that throughout Europe, like something with a boat, and they went all over all these places, but she thought it was literally like one of the best experiences ever. Is that something that you would recommend? Like, was that a big experience for you, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the fact that it was a solo trip kind of makes it stand out in my mind more, just because it was the first time I had done it. And I think it kind of makes you appreciate things a little bit more, because you're not like, you know, trying to think, what would this person like want to do too? And you're just kind of like doing everything like for yourself, and just like not even like talking to anyone either, unless you're like, you know, meeting strangers and stuff. But it kind of keeps yourself in your own head, and you're appreciating it a little bit more, I think, at times. I know at times definitely I was like, oh, I wish I could have someone here to like, you know, do this with, but it then made me appreciate it in a different way. And then I think I talked to more strangers because of it. And so I like kind of put myself out there, which was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so how long ago was this? I don't remember. I apologize. I know we talked about this probably at least once or twice before. I know Leah's told me that you did this, but I feel like it wasn't that long ago in the scheme of things. Like not the last couple of years, but like, well,
it
how
was
long
like
ago was that?
2015, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you super, obviously, you know, running, right? But you said that you mentioned the other gal that was into ultra running. Like, were you big time into that back then already? Or was that like meeting her, was that something newish to you still? I know you said that was one of the first people you met that was into that, but like, were you already kind of into this, the running thing, or?
Yeah. So I guess like my whole like running path has like evolved a lot, but that was like, the first person I guess I knew that was like really into it. I hadn't really like known much about the ultra community yet, because I think maybe 2017 or 18 was like kind of when I started meeting more people in Cleveland that were doing it, and realizing like how much bigger it was. In high school, I knew a few like coaches and random people that did the Leadville 100. So I had heard about 100 milers and ultras like back in high school, but I was like, no way, that like seemed so outlandish and like not even achievable, you know? So I didn't really think much of it. And then after like moving to Cleveland after college and getting into some like local like road running groups, there were some trail running groups that I got into. And then started meeting people that were doing, 50 milers, 50Ks, 100 milers. So it was probably right around 2017-ish that I found
Started to get into that more.
Yeah, realizing how big it was actually, and not just these random people that I had met before. But
yeah, so you weren't necessarily super ahead of the curve, but I mean, if you mentioned it was even after college that you were, getting into it a little bit more. I mean, compared to the mainstream now, right? It's becoming crazy popular, and it has been for a little while now, but you were already into it, I guess. So did you run back in high school then too?
yeah, so I think I started running when I was 9. So
Oh,
it was track was I was 4th grade or something. So yeah, I pretty much tried every other sport before then, because when you're a kid you do everything, and then realize I tried basketball, which for someone short like me was not pretty. So
you mean you didn't have a late growth spurt? You weren't 5'4" in 5th grade or something?
Yeah, I just grew to my height now when I was 8 and did
yeah.
That would be scary.
So you tried soccer and all the other team sports, I guess?
Yeah, and I don't have great hand-eye coordination. Anything that's hand to ball, volleyball or anything like that, I just wasn't very good at. I still had fun doing it, but I just realized it wasn't my niche thing. And so then
How do you start running at 9?
I guess my parents always ran, so okay. I would run with them sometimes, and then I just realized I liked it, and I was I'm gonna try the track team. And then I was the only girl that was doing long distance in my whole school, or in my I think yeah, because it was 3 grades or something in track at that age, I think. So in those 3 grades, I was the only girl, I think, doing the 1 mile or something. Everyone else wanted to do sprinting.
It's crazy
1 mile
to
is the
think that
longest you could go
kids do that stuff. Yeah, even a mile, to think that kids run, young kids, I guess. I don't know. I mean, people, I always want to see people that I looked up to that are parents, and how they, involve their kids in either stuff that they do or they've done in the past. And I think of, Jesse Itzler, he's got whatever, 4 or 5 kids. He's married to Sarah Blakely, but one of his kids, I think it's his oldest one, was trying to run a half marathon with him. And the kid looked, I mean, he also, yourself, when you were starting, he couldn't have been more than 10 or 12 years old, I don't think. And he's oh, I want to run a half marathon. And he's ask your mom. It's that would have been so far out of the realm from what I knew as a kid growing up. So it's just even crazy to think that, you were even running a mile. I have friends still at our age that have never probably run more than a mile. So I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't.
So your parents were runners though?
Yeah. My dad's definitely the competitive one, but my mom liked doing it for fun. So I feel I have a good mix of both. I enjoy it a lot, but I also like being competitive with it. So
okay.
Yeah.
So your dad, yes, did he run competitively, even way back when, high school, college, anything like that then, especially as a competitive individual?
No, but he just did local 5Ks and stuff. He mostly just did 5Ks, maybe a 10K or 2, but he didn't really do anything over 6 miles really. So it was kind of just my goal later in high school that I was I want to eventually do a half marathon. And I did my first half marathon in 2011, I think. So, and then the second one I did was actually with Leah after we went to Florence. So.
Oh, the Cleveland one, or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel I remember seeing a picture of you guys at some point in time from back then. Probably. Yeah. I don't remember for a fact, but probably. Actually, I think that was around the same time I did my first legit race as well, which is funny because there was such a long gap there from the first one to anything else after that, because I just was I don't ever want to really do this again. But yeah, I remember I want to say my first half marathon was in 2011, and I mean I had probably run less than 100 miles leading up to that. I'm saying training and probably my whole life too. So
too.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty crazy to think that, like you can even I had again, speaks to, or I mean, we're still young, but speaks to like what the human body is capable of, really at any age too, because I was definitely not prepared. And I think about like if I try and crush a distance that's, like probably a little too long, especially after like a large training block or something, you can just feel your body getting overworked even in your 20s, right? Or your late 20s. But it's like back then, it's just like I didn't feel bad at all other than my stomach. I just didn't know how to like take in food or prepare, for like gastro issues or whatever, like digestion, right? But it's like I
Oh yeah.
I didn't feel bad at all after that, and I ran in my training for that. I ran 10 miles once leading up to the first half marathon in 2011 for me. I ran 10 miles once, and that was by accident because back then, like I didn't have stuff to like track how far I was going either. So I thought I had run
Yeah.
out 4 miles, but I'd really run out 5 miles. So I had to go all 5 back. I remember thinking that was like such a big deal that I finally ran 10 miles once leading
Yeah.
up to my first half marathon. So I guess, but that was your first that same year back then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think same thing. I think the most I've learned throughout like increasing in distance and everything has been like nutrition and like just what you take in and like just like what doesn't make your stomach upset.
It's such a difficult thing. I know so many people battle, I guess probably is the right word with that, right? Just they can't, it's almost like we're super into fighting. I know Bill likes that stuff too. And, me and Garen are, really deep into that, but it's like, we say there are guys that in the training room are kings and they can kill it. Right. But once they step out in front of the big lights with everybody, they just can't perform. Right. So it's just like, I feel like it's the same thing, and first of all, not something or anything is going to work for everyone, but also then, just like everybody is so different. And it's like, you could, I don't even know, I feel like, practice and prepare all you want, especially leading up to like a big effort or something. Right. But it doesn't mean you're going to get it right on the day of. Like, I give you a good example. I was just watching, I'm sure you know who Gary Robbins is, right? The guy from, he lives in, I think, British Columbia or something like that. But I just saw he had a new like feature documentary of him. He was trying to like put together this new route that nobody had ever done, like 100-mile effort. And, they ran, I think like 30, I don't know if you saw this or not, but I think it was like 30 some miles or something or whatever, like in a fairly short period of time. Got through that no problem, like only a couple thousand feet of vertical gain. And then like as soon as they started the elevation part of it, like climbing the first peak, he just started like violently throwing up. And it's like, that's a guy who like, you would think, they have everything down to a science, right? You'd have to think. I mean, maybe they don't, but
Right.
nothing's guaranteed when it comes to your stomach. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to like make long runs, like tests of like, okay, this is what I'll do on race day. But again, it's still like so different. Your adrenaline and like your nerves are all over the place. And yeah.
Right. What do they have like at aid stations, or what are you willing to carry, or like here in Hawaii, like what can I get, like literally resource wise, like what can I get? And then if I'm not racing here, like what can I travel with? Like what can I take on a plane,
Yeah.
So many factors. So I guess, yeah, it depends on if you're traveling, like you said, if you're well prepared training block wise. Did you prepare like with nutrition? That's something that I've failed at miserably, at least personally. Like I would go on all these like, 15 to 25 mile training runs like every single weekend. And in my head, what I was trying to do was for not eating. So I was like, I would go, literally like every single weekend in a row, probably for months. I would go at least 15 to 25 miles, at least once, if not twice during the weekend. And every time I would be like, okay, let's see if I can just do this run with no calories, or let's see if I can go like, 10 miles with no water and then have water for the next 15 miles only. It's like, I thought that was good. And then when I got anywhere where I had to go farther than 20 or 25 miles, I'm like, well, I'm in such a hole now that you can't bounce out of this, like you're just
Right. Yeah.
such a calorie deficit. So, there is I think, how would you say it? There is some science to wanting to be able to be comfortable with not eating, but at the same time, like what's happening to your muscles, right? What's happening to your ligaments, your joints, who knows? I mean, I'm not a PT or a scientist, but it can't be good, right? Can't be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't think so.
No. I don't know. So I guess so is that a hurdle? I guess you're still probably always battling. I know we were talking about the last time we were together, like the spring company trying to get more like real foods, but is that still like an ongoing thing for you? Like just practicing and trying different stuff still, or
Yeah,
probably
I
always
think
will be, I guess.
yeah, I feel like it's always just something you can like make better and more efficient. And the hardest thing that I had to learn was like about like salt intake early on, like maybe 2016 time. Like I was training for another marathon in like the middle of the summer, and like I'd sometimes get to like 16 miles and just feel like passing out. And I'm like, I'm drinking plenty of water. I don't know what's happening. I'm having these like, energy gels and everything. And uh, finally looked into like taking salt pills, and that like completely fixed it. And I'm a very salty sweater. So I
Yeah.
just like have like salt sticking all over my forehead after every single run. And like, if you're like the type of person that you have salt on your body after you're running, like you need to intake
Right.
salt like during it. So
Do you
that
get it on
helped a
your
lot.
clothes, like on your
Yeah.
gear, like the salt stains? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy, isn't
It's
it? To see
pretty
that
bad.
almost looks like
It's,
waves. Looks like waves from the
yeah.
ocean on people's clothes. It's happened to
Yeah.
me. It's definitely happened to me. But like some people are, like you said, like really probably like salt deficient or something like that.
Mhm.
Like there's probably something going on with your sweat glands or something too. I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing to learn more about. Yeah. Do you use a specific brand? Do you use
Yeah.
like SCAP or anything specific on the salt side?
Yeah. Salt stick.
Salt
They're
sticks?
just the capsules. I
Yeah.
don't use like there's like those fast chews you can like take, but I just use the pill form.
Yeah.
Um, and Bill actually found this like powder. It's called Element, and it's a
Hmm.
lot of salt in them. It's basically just
Oh, I
salt,
think you sent that to
potassium, and
me.
magnesium. Yeah, yeah, and it's that's really good right before a long run. I like those a lot.
So for you, I guess everybody's so different, right? Like you were able to run like your own race during COVID. Obviously, I got your picture up there behind me. Like, we were all super happy for you and proud for you here. I'm sure your family was, especially to have them there that day too. But, like, especially now, like during COVID, things are a little different now than they were, months ago, right? Like you were able to go run a race, like we all went to Tahoe, but, like what's your, not like your right this moment, but like what's your big motivation even then, like as someone who's not necessarily maybe at the moment, at least, you never know, but like trying to make a living doing this, then like I always think, people and I other people call me a runner. I don't say I'm a runner, but like even, my wife says I'm a runner. Like I think runners are crazy. I really do. Like, I think there's something wrong with runners. There's something wrong with their heads, but like, what's your motivation then? Like, and that could, I guess, include maybe like your long-term end goal, if you have one, or you're like, maybe you would have said, like, I've had people reach out to me like, hey, I want to run a half marathon by the end of the year or something, like, people reach out to me and ask me those kinds of questions. Like, what do I need to do to like build up to that? Or how much time should I give myself? Like, do you have, like an end goal? And I guess, how does that tie back into like, what motivates you on a daily basis with your crazy mind? Cause I think all of you runners, including myself, are crazy. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I think we're a little crazy. It's kind of the
Yeah.
fun of it. um, but
What
yeah, I
motivates
guess
you?
I've always been like, I guess backing up a little bit, like a little like lucky in a sense. Like it's always come easy to me. Like I mean, it's still hard. If I take like 2 months off, it's not like I can just pick it right back up, but it feels like it doesn't take me that long to get back into like, running up to 10 miles and not feeling like my heart rate's crazy. I'm not
Right.
saying that
Okay.
I'd be at the same speed as I would be if I like didn't take those 2 months off. It would take me a while to get back up to my speed, but I just have always like it's come natural and it just like feels good. And but yeah, my like long-term goals, I guess, I don't know, I just like getting faster and seeing that like, it's not true that like the fastest you're ever going to be is like in high school. Cause I was always like told by like random people in like cross
Oh,
country
really?
that like, girls usually peak at age 15 in cross country or whatever. And like that would be like the
People say
fastest I would
that?
be. There were some people that would say that. I'm not saying that's everyone. There was a lot of very supportive people, but there are some people that say that. And I'm just like, that seems not
Why aren't
true.
there all
And
15-year-olds running in the Olympics then? That's what
yeah,
I
and
would have
it's like,
said.
I don't know. And like, I just like also like proving people wrong. So I was like, that's not gonna be true. And like, I don't know.
Right.
I feel like I'm in better shape than I was in high school, like doing all these different things and like running farther and stuff. So I just like being able to like go faster. It's a fun feeling.
So you want to go faster. You want to go fast.
I want to go faster and
you
farther.
Like running fast.
So it's like kind of a balance because I'm like,
that's
a
tough balance though, I feel like, right? Like, because you can work on distance and work on speed, but it's almost like, can you work on speed and work on distance, right? Like, I don't know if it works the same in that, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's hard to explain that to anyone who doesn't run, but I truly do believe that. I think you can work on distance and work on speed. They're not the same. Like, you'd have to focus on distance, but I don't think you can work on speed and get better at distance. I really like it to some regard, right? Like if you're trying to do the 400. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to get my PR in a 5K when I'm like training for a 50K. Like that's just probably not going to happen. But I'm not really like focusing on 5Ks anymore though. I mean, it would be pretty cool to break 20 minutes at some point, but I'll find a time that I focus on it and try to go for it. But I do want to qualify for Boston.
That's a goal.
So run under 3 hours and 30 minutes. So I have 14 minutes to go. But
what age bracket is that like for? Because they do it by age bracket, right? Like where does that cut off? Like,
yeah, I think 34 or 35.
Okay, so you have some time. Then it's not like, because the times go up, right? So like when you hit 34, it's probably like 3 hours and 35 minutes or 3 hours and 40 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
I guess, right? Okay.
And I kind of want to do it when it's the hardest to do it.
So right now.
And I guess if I even like don't do it till I'm 35 or 36, like I still want to get that like 3:30 is the goal. But right now I think I'm focusing on building endurance because I think I'm better at like half marathons right now, speed wise. Because I think my endurance is getting a lot better, but like keeping up that speed in a marathon is like the hardest thing for me. Like mile 20 is always where it just kind of like nosedives a little bit and lose the pace there. But that's
what's that called? 50K. Like your lactate threshold, isn't that what that's called?
Yeah, I think
that's technical. I think that's the technical term, is that like when you have too much, like I think it actually means you have too much lactic acid built up in your muscles, and like they just literally physically don't want to perform the same anymore. I think everybody has it at, they call it there's a lactate threshold and like a lactate threshold pace that you can hold until you're gonna break, I think. Right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, there's like, this reminds me of a book I just like read called Endure, and it's just about like endurance of human beings, and a physiologist wrote it. It's really interesting, and talks about the lactic threshold and like VO2 max and one other thing they pointed out, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I do think there's a lot to that, right? I mean, if you, again, I can take it back to fighting. Like if you look at fighters who have, which they don't all put this out there, but if you can learn anything about any fighters who have a lower resting heart rate, then they're probably going to have better, like they call it in fighting cardio, but we would refer to it as, you know, like cardio, but endurance, like you just said. So I think, and that doesn't exactly mean everything you just said, but I think it does attribute to like your VO2 max in that sense, right? So just keeping your heart rate down as low as it can be. I mean, there's ways you can sort of manually manipulate that. I do believe that. I don't know if that's actually factual, but that's something, I guess, that probably builds up over time too, right? Whether it's short distance, like a 5K, or I mean, marathon now compared to like hundreds of mile races is not that long, but I still think marathon's long distance. I think it personally, at least. Yeah. It's pretty long.
Yeah.
I guess they say only like a certain percent of the US population is only ever going to run a marathon, right? Isn't it like less than 1% or something like that?
Yeah, I don't even know actually.
I think there's a number like that. I'm actually curious now though too. I mean, which doesn't really matter as much, but I want to know what my like my current Strava 5K time is, because I would have no clue what like where do you see that? Where do you see your personal fastest? Okay, yeah. So it says, and I've been using Strava, which isn't an excuse, but I've been using Strava since 2009. When did I sign up for Tahoe? Yeah. So I've been using it since like 2019 or something like that. And it just will compile some stuff. And it says my fastest 5K since I've been using Strava, at least it's been recorded, is 22:49. I don't know. So I guess what is that? It's 3.1. So 7:14:21. That's barely over a 7-minute mile. That's really not that fast, right? I guess.
Yeah, you
So
could go faster, but it's not like
probably.
you're racing it. You're, running it for your like training and stuff like that.
Well, so you said under 20. So what is your fastest 5K then? Like you at that mark, you at like 20 or 21 then already? Like could you do it if you had to right now? You think you can beat 20?
No,
You don't think so?
no. My fastest ever has been 2020. Uh,
That's fast.
my
That's 20
fast
seconds off.
that was like when I was 18 or 17.
Okay.
So I was
You're
like,
proving your coach is right. Don't do
I
it.
know
Prove them
that's the
wrong.
only one. That's why I'm saying I got to beat it because I got to beat my
Okay.
17-year-old time. But I got a 21:12 last year, I think, at some point in 2019. I guess that's 2 years ago. I forget what year it is.
I know it's gonna.
Yeah. So I'm getting back down there, but I don't really focus on 5Ks. So maybe someday I'll try to
If
get
you
there.
had to pick, you'd be more focused on the marathon, like the Boston qualifying time versus like breaking a 20 in the 5K, right? I guess probably if
Yeah.
you had to pick at least between those two.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
there's like certain qualifying races, right? Like you can't just run even a sanctioned marathon. Like not like I could just go run a 3:30 and say like, oh, like I can send it to Boston and say this is good enough. Like you have to run certain races, right? And then run a
Right.
certain time in those races. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And I feel like there's a lot that are Boston qualifiers anymore. I don't know very many that aren't, unless they're like super small and they just don't like put it out there to be a Boston qualifying race. But yeah.
Yeah, all the big ones I'm sure are. I know you actually I think you have to go through not like the same process. This is a bad example, but like a Guinness World Record. But I think you do have to have them like come out and look at it because I remember watching a video where a guy was trying to make his own marathon course online, like just for lack of having them during COVID,
Mhm.
and they wanted it to be a Boston qualifier. And I don't even know if they were letting like people actually enter in it, but they still wanted to be a Boston qualifier. So I think they were like going through some type of process. So I don't know, but I
Yeah.
think you still have to have somebody like either come out and look at it or something like that. Maybe that's a good
Yeah,
question.
I'm sure. Probably has to do with the like organizers, like whether they want to keep it really small and not have to deal with that, or if they want to get more people involved, they probably would have to get it registered so that way
Yeah.
they could get more registrants. But yeah,
Right, because then you'd have people that are, people always want to find a reason to get pissy about something, but you're definitely going to have people to find a reason to get pissy about, it's like, oh, I ran my 3:29 and now I don't qualify for Boston, right? Like that was the fastest I ever did, it's like, but it could be a lot downhill, like how which is crazy. I mean, there are
yeah.
still people out there that want to say like what's his name, Yolid Kipchoge or whatever the guy's name is, like didn't actually
Mhm.
break the 2 hour mark on the marathon. Like that's ridiculous to me. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like we all saw it. It was a
yeah,
1:59, whatever. It was
that was
crazy.
so cool. I mean, yeah, that was a cool
I do
moment.
think a
And it's
lot
like
of
no
that is
matter
the
if it
shoes
like
though.
is official or not, like it's still like such a cool thing that a human could do that. But yeah, you think it's the
Yeah.
shoes?
I don't think it is the shoes. I think a lot of it is the
A
shoes.
lot
I
of it.
honestly do. Because as I've started to run more, who was I telling about this? It doesn't matter. I was telling somebody about energy return. I do think that there's a big difference. I was telling my uncle because he just started to try and get into trail running as well. And he was talking about how he wasn't thinking about it and he went to the gym because he wanted to break his shoes in and he was running on the road in trail shoes. And, it's like, I know for a fact he's going slow enough where he's heel striking. And so I'm thinking, well, your energy return is just piss poor because you've got trail shoes on. And the reason you have trail shoes that aren't padded is so you can feel the varied terrain, right? But like those marathon shoes, like they literally, people cut them in half and it's just like whatever that material is in there. I don't even want to butcher whatever they call it because I would just say it's like some type of foam. It's different than what people used to use. It just is. It's a
Yeah.
fact. Like they didn't have that type of, like they were talking about whether or not they wanted to ban those, whatever the Nike Zoom flies or whatever they're called. Like I don't think it is the shoes, but I think it's got to be at least
It's got to
some part of
contribute.
that.
Yeah, for sure. And
I
yeah,
think
there's
so.
like some sort of, it's like foam and then some sort of plate in between, some more foam. I don't know. I watched a review once where they like cut one open in half just to like
Yeah,
show what it looked like. And
it's cool.
because now there's a lot of mimic ones where they have like similar
Yeah,
versions, like Hoka has one. And
Hoka has one even for a trail. Yeah, it's the long
yeah,
back. It looks stupid as
yeah.
shit. If you
Yeah,
ask me, I'm
they're
sorry,
like
Hoka,
alien
but
shoes or something. I don't
yeah.
know. But
It looks
I don't know.
about, in my opinion, it looks about as bad as the Tesla truck. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I've actually never worn them before. I've not worn them for a
Me
race
either.
or anything, but I don't know. I'm just like used to the shoes that I like. I'm like, maybe one day I'll like buy a pair to see what it's like. And they're only supposed to last for like 2 races.
Yeah.
So
See, you know why though? You know why? Energy return, because there's not an efficient, there's only so much, or there's only so long the material can last, where instead of the energy hitting, the ground and coming back up into your joints, it's being dispersed out. It's just like anything. It really is. That's why it's easier to run longer distance on trail, because your energy is going down through the dirt versus hitting concrete. Just like a treadmill, the energy's not coming back up into your joints. So that's why those damn shoes don't last long. I didn't know that, but since you just told me, I believe it even more now.
yeah.
So I think it's definitely a factor. I don't know. I hot take maybe, but I think the shoes. there are other people on the starting line though that wear, I think, probably like Asics or I don't know how to say the name, Saucony or whatever. Like I think there's some big people that are sponsored by some other brands, but I mean it was crazy before COVID.
Similar.
Oh, Brooks, yeah. I remember seeing a picture that they were like all of them were wearing that same color shoe. You remember that, like the green one or whatever? You know what I'm talking about?
And,
It was like green and black and white or something. Oh, the pink ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me take it back here. So you said that you thought like, I almost said things like this running, I guess, concept of you running, you attributed at least somewhat to it just kind of coming easy to you, right? Like somewhat easy to you. Okay. So I have a theory, but do you think that is just total luck? It's one of 3 things for me, at least in the way I'm going to frame the question. Either like total luck that is just coming easy to you, genetics, or the fact that you started running at a younger age. And I know what I would pick, what I think it would be, why this might come easier to you. And I can tell you if you want first, or you can answer, but I am convinced it's at least one of those 3 things. Do you want to go?
I would go towards, since I've been running for so long, and a little bit genetics too, but probably just because like it's just part of my life, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I do think that people believe, or not people believe, it's proven, right, that there are endomorphs and ectomorphs, and there's all those ways to classify the human body, right, and the shape that we all are, and your stature and your size and your ability to gain and lose weight and muscle mass and all that good stuff, right? So I would attribute that actually to luck, even though it is genetics. But like genetics, I'm thinking more of like, okay, you're getting that from your parents. That's why I asked about like, your parents, like they ran, so it could be a factor. But I think it's the young thing, in my opinion, because you look at people that are better at over long term, like they've been doing it longer, right? So my easy comparison would be like, look at a gymnast. Like you don't see any, that's why young gymnasts are at the Olympics versus 15-year-olds not being at the Olympics for running. It's runners, not like old, but in their later portions of their like prime athletic career. They're probably, I don't know what those, those strong burly women are that are running for the US team that are kicking ass, because we always get demolished by, all the other countries on the men's side, but it's got to be, they're probably in their like late 20s, early 30s, right, on the running side for the females, I would think. I don't know, but I would assume probably mid 20s to late 30s. But when you look at a gymnast, like they're doing that when they're young, and so I think that they start that even when they're even younger. You look at like the Rory McIlroy in golf, or Tiger Woods. They just came out with a great Tiger Woods documentary. Like he started swinging, they said, at whatever it was, like it was ridiculous. It was either like 2 months or 3 months or 9 months old or something like that. Literally, they put a golf club in Tiger Woods' hand. Rory McIlroy, like Sidney Crosby started playing hockey at such a young age. So even like I never ran anything. So that's why I'm not saying it isn't easy enough. Like it's easier than it is for a lot of things for me. But like I don't think I'm a good runner. I think I'm prone to injury, but I've barely ever been doing it. But like, it's funny that you said it came easy to you. So I guess you think the same thing then? You think just kind of like in anything in general, then people who start something at a young age are probably just like priming their body to be better at it at an older age?
Yeah, I think so. And especially if you like it at a young age too, because like I'm sure there's people that like ran when they're younger and then are just like, I don't really like it, don't want to do it anymore. But I think it's a little bit of like in your brain too, like of just like if you enjoy it, that goes a long way. But yeah, consistency for sure of like doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, not that I disagree, but I don't even know if like what I'm trying to say is consistency. I just think that like the human
Mm.
body is molded into a certain form at a certain age. And I don't know exactly like when I would say that happens, right? Because again, like some people
Yeah,
are starting stuff at before they're even 1 or 2 years old. But I just think like while we're still forming and growing, like whatever you're doing then, is going to just translate into some form of success later in life. Obviously, you can always get more intelligent. You can learn another language. Maybe it's easier when you're younger. You can still do it, right? But like you said, yeah, maybe you don't enjoy it and you can come back to it and still jump into running later, not you, but somebody else. But I just feel like, if you start some type of athletic or physical pursuit at a young age, that's just going to be what you're primed to do. Like your body is literally forming into that human being almost. It's just crazy how we adapt. I don't know.
yeah, that is crazy.
Because it could be genetics, right? It could for
Yeah,
you. I mean, you got a kind of a running frame, right? And your parents, ran competitively-ish, or at least ran at all. Like the idea of my parents running would have been so far-fetched. I also didn't do it when I was younger. So I look, I guess the reason I'm harping on this is I look at two different people, like
yeah,
similar age range, right? And like success, I think you could have all the success in the world. Like I look at like a Courtney Dauwalter, right? Like I literally would put you in the same category. Literally, like I truly would. And I
oh
mean that
man,
with all the
she's
confidence in the world. Like I think I think if you could dedicate yourself to something like that you've been doing long enough, right? Like she ran cross country in high school or whatever they say, and I think you're literally formed into that. But like I don't
yeah.
think I physically could get to like a Mike Wardian status or someone like that. I don't think so, at least. But maybe
I
I'm
don't think
wrong, maybe I'm right.
I'm definitely not on the caliber of Courtney Dauwalter. She's definitely faster than me, but she, thank you.
Well, faster,
She's
but she goes
like,
long. So like, do you
and
have a long
longer.
distance goal? Do you have a long distance goal in mind
Um,
ever? Like, did you ever look at any of these like super long or new races and say like, yeah, I want to go, like 100 miles by the time I'm 30 or 35 or something like that? Or you ever think about that?
yeah. I'm kind of just taking it a race at a time because, I did my first official like 50K in December. But I'm looking at a 50 miler in June, is like my next goal. And then I'm like, okay, I'll see how I feel after the 50
See how you
miles.
feel.
And if I have like that itch again of like, oh, I can go farther, then yeah, I think I'd like to do 100 miles at some point. But I'm just trying to like keep doing it and enjoying it and not like burn myself out either. But uh, yeah, I like the 50K
Well,
was really fun in a so much different way because it's like, yeah, I push myself pace wise, but it's not the same as like a road race. So it was like a total different challenge of like a lot of elevation for Ohio at least, and going farther than I have it like in one short period of time. So that was cool.
did you find any specific challenges in that race that you hadn't yet experienced? Like it could be new challenges on the digestion in terms of like, maybe you missed the mark on nutrition or, like hydration. Did you have any new unforeseen challenges there in that race, your most recent race specifically?
Um, Actually, like my nutrition and everything was really good, and my stomach held up great, which was awesome.
Listen.
The hardest part was probably just like my quads because of all the downhill. Because my strategy was like hiking up all the uphills and then running all the straightaways and downhills. And so then by the third, it was like three, a little over 10-mile loops. And by the third one, I was like, at every downhill, it was just like painful in my quads. So just got to work a little bit more on some quad strength, I think, for the next one.
Well, that could be stemmed from anything though, as I'm sure you are aware, and I'm sure Bill could be well versed to probably educate you even further, or Garen too. I mean, like anytime I'm having issue in my left foot, it's like it's almost certainly not my left foot, right? It's
Mhm.
my hip, or if I'm having tight hips, maybe it's my knee or something, which is just ridiculous to think that again the human body is
Yeah.
sending signals to one place where it's really not even having a problem, right? But So is your
Yeah,
quads
that's
then.
true.
That's probably a
Yeah,
good
it's just
strategy
more like
too.
muscle
Hiking
like
up those random
soreness
downs.
than like any sort of like pain, I guess. So it didn't
Yeah,
feel
just
like an
traditional
injury or
soreness.
anything. It was just like muscle soreness. But
Right. But who knows? Maybe like if your hamstrings were stronger, realistically, I mean that like,
yeah,
maybe if your calves were stronger to be able to like, get in really good foot position every time. Who knows? I guess that's what I'm getting at is like, yeah, I had the same problem my last race, quads were
yeah,
blown to shreds. But like what ultimately ended up hurting the longest for me, it's funny enough, was my hamstrings. Like my quads hurt so bad the next day, but like, that pain went away, I think a couple of days later. And then like for days after that, I had hamstring pain. So I don't know if the pain in the quads was just worse and masking the hamstring pain, or if like maybe my hamstrings were actually just really tired and I was putting all that pressure on my quads. Right. So that was what
yeah,
caused the muscle soreness. I don't know.
yeah. That's a good point. We'll have to ask Dr. Garen.
Dr.
See what
Garen.
he has to
Yeah.
say.
I love that he's Dr. Garen. Side note for him, by the way, his son is not sleeping. Like it's been weeks.
Oh no.
Weeks. And I think maybe once he called me like a week ago or something on his way home. We talked for a couple minutes. But before that, I remember he called me. It was late here. It was like, whatever time, like 9 or 10 p.m. here, which would have been late on the East Coast. And he sounded like he was literally a zombie. He was like, dude, I haven't slept in days. And I was just like, oh, man. I felt so bad because, I mean,
Yeah,
like, you
that
know what you're
sucks.
getting into if you have kids and like, you want kids, but that's why I
But
don't
it's still
have any.
hard.
That's why Lee and I don't have
Yeah.
any. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't
It's like, yeah,
make it any
kind of, but you can't really prepare yourself until it happens. It's like,
right. Do you want kids?
it's on the table. I don't know.
It's a possibility though.
We'll
You're not
see.
like against it.
Yeah, I'm not against it. It's like, I don't know. Bill and I both agree like that our lives could be great with kids, great without kids. Like, just kind of see how life goes and we decide to do it or decide to adopt or not have kids or
I was just about
yeah, we'll
to
see.
ask actually, would you adopt? Not like I'm pressuring you to do that, but like, is that something I always am fascinated by people that even like would consider that? Because it's like, if you were totally against it, like it's not something you would probably even say like right here on public platform, or you'd be like, don't post that. But I'm always
Yeah.
fascinated by people that would adopt. Like I love that mindset that certain people have. That's amazing to me to think that people are like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'd be open to it. I understand why people like wouldn't be because they just
Wouldn't.
like really have that urge to like have biological children and that's like a natural thing. And I don't know. I feel like haven't I really had that urge to like a huge extent. So and there's plenty of kids that like need a home. So I'm like it's a
Yeah.
possibility. But um yeah, I don't know.
It's just not on the table at the moment, either of them, either having kids like biologically, naturally, whatever, however you want to say it, or adopting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's like badass to be able to like grow a baby and be able to have it, but like scares the shit out of me. I'm just
I don't know
like,
how you
I
guys
don't
do it.
know.
I'm one
I
of
don't
three.
know
I have
either.
two older sisters. My oldest sister has a bunch of kids, a whole gang of kids, and I've seen it firsthand. Obviously, I was born, I wasn't there, but like beforehand, I don't know how you guys do it. That's it's a very we could go into great detail or just leave it at that, but it's I don't know how you guys do it. It's very, very impressive to be able to carry and labor, I guess if you want to say it that way, a child, a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know either.
I saw a video the other day, speaking of a kangaroo in like a pooch sack in the pouch or whatever that's called. You ever seen the inside of a kangaroo's like pouch or whatever they call that?
Like,
You ever seen that?
no, not like the actual like
Oh,
inside.
oh my God. I hope I can.
Huh.
I want to like pull up a video and show it. It was, I mean, it just like a regular kangaroo, and they got up real close to it. First of all, you got to be careful with these damn kangaroos because you never know. Like one of them just comes at you and starts
Yeah.
slinging big haymakers
Gonna
with
kick
those
you.
bicep massive arms. Yeah, or it slings back on its tail and kicks you. But they got up real close to this kangaroo, and it just like this freaking hole in its stomach opened up, like where you'd assume like a human belly button would be, and there was a little kangaroo in it. There was a little kangaroo inside of
Yeah.
it, and like I knew it was a thing, but like I kind of thought it was like almost like a flap. You know what I mean? Like if you had to assume like your
Yeah.
shirt was like this, like
Yeah,
pulled
there's
up,
just
and then
more
they just
fur
were in like a
underneath.
flap. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. It was like the kangaroo was in a
Oh.
hole in the other kangaroo. I had no idea. I mean, maybe I knew when I was a kid, like learning things in school, but I was mind blown. That's something to look up, people.
Yeah.
Whatever they call
You know
that,
what?
kangaroo and in a pooch sack.
In a pouch, or is it a pooch?
I don't know what it's called. I wish I knew. It's so funny to think.
Pooch just sounds funnier, so we'll call it a pooch.
It honestly could be. Imagine like a bunch of Australians saying, you know, the kangaroos in a pooch sack. You know, that my bad attempt at an Australian accent, but I just can't imagine, you know, people actually saying that in the real world. Maybe that's what, I don't know. Maybe that is what it's called. Maybe I didn't just make that up off the top of my fucking head. Oh my God. I'm picturing it. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. No, that was probably better than mine. I can't do accents very well. I tried to do a French accent the other day. It didn't turn out well either. I was trying to think what I said. If I remember what I tried to say, I would even say it right now. But I've also never been to France, so you know, I think that probably plays into it a little bit. But I don't know. Not the kind of funny type of person that can do accents. I wish. You ever like seen like a real accent, like comedian or somebody do impersonations? I guess is a better way to phrase that. Like we saw Jay Farrow, if you know who that is. I think he's been on Saturday Night Live, but he's a comedian. He came to our college once though. Such a funny dude. I mean, he can do, you know, like Kevin Hart and Denzel Washington and, you know, all these other people, but it is just, I don't know how people, it's like breakdancing. I don't know how people do some of the things they do, but to listen to this guy sound just like Barack Obama, it's just like, how does he do that with his voice? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You have to practice, I'm sure, right? I'm sure you have, just like anything, you have to practice. I'm sure you could be naturally gifted at something like that, but you still have to practice.
Yeah.
Imagine, so it's like,
I'm not gonna sit there and practice how to do that. So
I was just about to say, it's like, oh, my hobby's running. So I'm, you know, at home, maybe I'm stretching or lifting, or I'm going to the gym, or I'm going out for a run. Like, oh, I'm going to stand in front of the mirror and practice my facial expressions. And I'm going to just keep saying Denzel Washington lines and watching videos of him on YouTube over and over and over again. It's like, who is Denzel Washington talking to right now in the bathroom? You know, I just can't imagine that being your hobby, or like juggling.
Yeah. I guess you could like practice those things while running, because people always ask, like, what do you do while you run? Well, you could say, I practice Denzel Washington quotes. I don't know. You could practice juggling while running.
Yeah. You know, actually what I've thought I wanted to do when I first realized how boring running was, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do to pass my time while I knew I had so much training ahead of me for that when I got selected for Tahoe. It's like, man, what am I going to do with all my time? Like, at the time I was listening to audiobooks. I barely ever listen to them now. I have like 9 ready to go on my Audible. And part of it is I just don't have the headphones because I don't want to listen to them like on the speaker from my phone, because you can't concentrate and other people are listening. Anyway, I was thinking about what am I going to do with my time. I thought about learning a new language. We were talking about that earlier too. Like, I thought maybe what a good way to pass the time would be to do like an audio course, and just like, what if I came out of it and I could speak French and German, you know, like that would be, we wouldn't be able to read or write it, you know, because you're just hearing it in your head. Right. But like, what if you could just speak fluently in like 3 languages, because that was all you did with all your free time, like 2 hours an hour or 2 a day. That'd be kind of cool.
That is a productive way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could just not be productive and just, you know, like you said, do Denzel Washington impersonations. That is very funny though, Elizabeth. That is pretty funny. Okay. So you said about your kind of like shortish term goals, right? On running, you know, maybe under 20 in the 5K, under 3:30 qualify for Boston by the time you're 30, whatever, you know, and maybe someday 100-mile. Do you have any big goals outside of running, like any other pursuits? Are you like a massive puzzler, or, you know, like a scavenger hunter or anything like that you like want to do outside of running that you're super passionate about that I don't know about, or anybody else wouldn't know about?
I enjoy making things. I don't know if I'm really that great at it, but I think it'd be cool to either get into like metalworking or woodworking.
Okay. Yeah, let me see your ring. Congratulations, first of all. We talked about your partner, but you got your ring on?
Yeah,
let's see it.
There it is. I don't know if that's very clear or not, but
yeah, it looks beautiful. Is that a teardrop? Is that what that is?
It's actually like a shield shape. I can try to.
I'm not good at
I
this.
don't know. It's
I'm not
like.
good at this. Leah didn't get an engagement ring.
There you go.
Oh, okay, I see now
It
because
looks
it's not
kind of like
actually
teardroppy, but
round.
yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
more like geometric, I guess, shaped. Salt and pepper diamond. So it's like has a lot more like imperfections and exclusions than like a normal diamond, which actually I
Color.
think makes it look cool. But yeah, Bill and I went
unique.
and designed it together.
So you would get into something like that if you could, like metalwork or forgery or whatever, I guess. I'm not sure how you would call all of those pursuits, but you would do something like that if you could get into it, maybe?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I don't know if what I'd do with it, if it would be more than just a hobby or not, but I think it's really satisfying to like make something. Like I just randomly like done stuff like I made Bill this little like wooden like piece of art that I like he likes music a lot, so I put musical notes on it and like used a Dremel and like carved into it like music notes and then painted it and stuff like that. I just like doing like little things like that. And like I've never done anything huge, and I've like restained and repurposed some like furniture for stuff, and like I made a few pieces of jewelry out of metal and done some like soldering and stuff, but nothing intense, and it's very like amateur, but it's fun. And
there's a big market for that on the jewelry side for sure, right? Like personal, like customized jewelry, especially if you can get a following. Like there's all kind of weird markets for things that you would never know about unless you either knew somebody who knew about it or you like research it. Like there's a whole market for like custom made knives and all kind of really cool stuff. So jewelry for sure, you could definitely get into that. Like you said, it's like, do you want to invest in it if it's not going to be like you have to do any money, unfortunately, because then it's just, it's like, do you have the resources to spend all of the money? I know what you mean, right? Like unless
yeah, because it's a lot of equipment.
Like we made for Bill, like it's fun, like, satisfying.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So
you almost need space, like a garage, right? Or like a factory. Am I unstable?
Sure. A little bit.
Oh, there we go. My video was off. So I think it was me. Something's wrong with my video.
Okay, you're better now.
Okay. So you like to make stuff. That's cool. I honestly, I agree though, in the sense also, I think it's pretty satisfying to make anything. Like I think about, like I made a video the other day for Leah, like, we're doing the coffee thing. And like, I literally in a very short period of time, like in the time it took her to make me a latte, and then her to like clean up while she was making, I just like took a couple of different camera shots and then like threw them together because they were already on my phone in like a little app and made her a video. And like when I was done, like it felt so good to just like turn the video around and be like, hey, what do you think? Like this is something you could use. And to see her be like, oh yeah, that's really cool. I was like, it's just, it was satisfying even to make that. So to make something with your hands physically is probably, I don't do that much, but probably very cool, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, even that, like, making a video, making anything, editing pictures is a lot of fun too. And I think giving what I think a little bit of creativity is always satisfying.
What I think would be cool if you could do, and it's making me think about it because of the painting on the wall there behind you. Have you ever seen like when people make like the cool like ceramics with tiles, like anything like that? Like I've seen really cool art like that, but when people make like bowls or stuff like that out of like tile like or whatever, I think that's so cool. Yeah, I think that's so cool. I wish I could do something like that. I probably have the gene like somewhere in me for that type of thing. Like my mom's big into that type of stuff. Like I can sew. I got an A in sewing in high school, but I couldn't cook back then. I got I think like a failing grade. I can only literally make like pancakes back in the day because I was pretty much all I ate anyways. But yeah, I mean, like I loved like AutoCAD, but actually like making stuff with my hands too was always fun. But I mean, I've never tried anything like that. Probably very difficult. But I just think it's so cool. Like glass blowing or like moving to Spain, we got to see all the tile work out there, which is so cool. I thought it was so awesome.
Beautiful. What does your mom make?
She used to be into, when I was growing up, she was super into basket weaving. So if you've ever seen like, just like a very traditional, like, I don't think we even have one. We probably you. It's too hard to get to. Like something you would just like throw stuff in, you know, or whatever. But she was used to be really into that. Like it took up like a whole room in our house. Was super into basket weaving. She does cross stitching now. Like literally, that's almost like she doesn't sell them. I don't think. I don't know. She can correct. It's literally like you would assume because she doesn't work. Like her full time job, she cross stitches. So she did this behind me. Like that's a cross stitching of 100 different beers. So I don't know if you can actually really like see that or not, but
I can tell it's like the shelves and like.
I don't know how hard it was to get on there. Yeah, I don't know how hard that was to get on the wall. So hopefully it wasn't hard to get up there, and hopefully it's not hard to get back up. But yeah, so she cross stitched all of that. I don't know if you can see it really or not, but yeah, so it's 100 different beers.
Glare,
but
she I can tell it's beer. Yeah.
Maybe that's better.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, you get the picture. Yeah.
And every single one's different. That's
so
cool.
They're all different. Yeah, she's super into it. She makes them all like different seasons and stuff like that. So like I know, and talking with like, you know, Bill, we've talked about music before, right? Like my mom can't hum a tune or carry a tune or whatever it's called, but like my dad can, right? And both of my sisters were good singers. I was a good singer when I was really little, and then I wasn't when I grew up. I couldn't sing for a shit. So I just like growing up and doing something athletic. I think, you know, it's either kind of built into you or you can grow into it and mold your body as an adult. But so yeah, that this might be in me somewhere. I don't think I want to do it though. I made a paper towel holder in wood. Yeah, I made a paper towel holder in wood in high school. I thought that was cool too. And then I think my parents threw it away. You know, maybe it wasn't that good. Probably wasn't that good, to be honest. You know, probably really shitty. Anyway.
Parents always keep those types of things.
Yeah. They probably said they dropped it and it broke, and then, you know, it's just like, oh, we dropped this, we just threw it away. They probably just threw it away. It probably wasn't good. Anyway, anything burning hot at the fire that we didn't talk about?
Oh, are we gonna do David Goggins 4x4x48?
Perfect. I love that you bring it up. I would love to do that, and it is when March. Is it March 5th? 3-5 to 3-7.
Yes, I think you're right.
Okay, yeah, so that's going to be our first. That's gonna be our first thing together, I guess. So we'll do. That's literally his challenge. I wonder if that was somewhere beforehand, but he I think he literally came up with that. So it's 4 miles every 4 for 48 hours, right?
Yeah.
So what is that? 48 miles then? I guess 20. That would be 48 miles, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like trying not to butcher some math in my head right now.
I know. I had to think about it.
24 miles a day. Yeah, 24 miles a day. You know what? Leah said she wanted to do it though too. So, and I know you asked Bill, awesome. And Bill's going to do some kettlebell swings, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I asked Garen if he wanted to do it, and he said I'm going to say it the exact way he typed it out to me. He said, I literally don't think I've ever ran 4 miles in my life. And so unfortunately, I think Garen's probably out, but I said no better time than the present. So, you know, we'll see. Yeah. You know, maybe we can get some more people involved though. I don't know if you saw the post or not about Goggins. Like he's going to select people to like come out to his camp or whatever. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. That's pretty cool. The camp sounds.
That is cool. That's why I want Bill to get involved. Intense. I would love Bill to go there. Can you imagine Bill and David Goggins kicking it? That'd be so cool. You know, them doing like a shot put together or some shit, right? Like Bill and David Goggins in a chin up competition. That would be the dopest thing I've ever seen. Because I'm gonna fold like, you know, I'm going to fold like, you know, tinfoil paper, but Bill, I think, could hold his own. So that's why I want Bill to get involved. But yeah. I mean, maybe we could just say Bill did it. Just say he ran the 48 miles. Get his in.
Yeah. We can get some good.
There's real entries, but yeah, get some footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just get him like running out the door. Yeah, we'll get him running out the door. You cut the edits in. So you can just run like 1 or 2 miles and we'll just chop it up, make it look like he was there the whole time. That'll be fun though. Any last minute motivation or advice I can hold with me while I'm going mindlessly into the night.
Just gotta have your like motivational self-talk ready.
You think
You
that,
know,
does that
like
help you? Do you do that?
yeah, just like have a few, like when you're really tired and you can't think of anything besides like something hurts, you just think to yourself like 2 or 3 words or something that like kind of get you excited. Or you just smile. I just smile sometimes because it just
There you
like
go.
makes your whole body feel better when you smile, I feel like.
Do you have like a mantra? I guess it's almost like maybe 2 or 3 words might be too short to even call it a mantra, but you know what I mean? Like you have something you repeat to yourself. I'm not going to ask you what it is, but you have something.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
I'll give you one of mine. And I actually didn't use it in my last race once because Garen and I were supposed to do a post race breakdown. We never did, but I have one that I've used many a time. I actually I will yell out loud sometimes when I'm by myself out in the middle of the woods. Like I do actually think that helps too. Just kind of like smiling. It just
Yeah,
feels good to just like speak
it
and
does.
exhale. If you've been going for 4 hours and you haven't even smiled, you haven't opened your mouth to breathe, you know, because I try and practice nose breathing. But one of mine, which I got this again from Jesse Etzler, but I always love it. And so when it pops in my head, I love to think about it, is always when I push, my body responds. I love that one. It's so simple because it's like, especially when I'm hurting, it's like, I just know that it's like, okay, well, if I push, my body's going to respond. You almost have to have like a self-belief in there too, knowing that your
Yeah.
body will respond, because maybe it won't, but that has always been one of mine at least. So, yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend who his was he would always like, if it's like so many miles till, you know, if we're just doing like a marathon, it'd be like, oh, okay, we're at the 20-mile mark, there's 6 miles, and you just say to yourself, what's 6 more miles? Like that was like his thing. And I was like, it works sometimes, but like
Right. Oh,
but
what's
I
another
like
80 miles?
what's another 80 after this?
Yeah, I get
I
you.
feel like it helps a lot for me at least to like break it up of like, okay, in like 10 miles be here. And then you don't even think about the other like 20 miles that is next. You're just like, I don't know, you probably heard that before, but just like breaking it
Yeah.
up into like little pieces. But
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially because even if you break it down to its smallest, like, I mean, people always say like constant forward motion, or, I mean, so cliche, right? But this is the main one, like one step at a time. But literally, if you can break it down like mile by mile, like you can, if you're a runner, you can certainly run 1 mile. So if you just like, it'd be annoying, but if you kept taking it 1 mile at a time, like unless you were in serious pain, you could get through anything. You really could, I think. So yeah, I do agree that it probably pays dividends to break it up, obviously longer than 1 mile, but yeah, like maybe chunks or whatever. Like you said, if it was a loop, I did that on my last race. It was 8 mile loops, right? So I just kept saying, okay, like, you know, I got one more loop of daylight left. I just got to get through that, right? And then I'd be like, all right, this is my first nighttime loop. Like, let's see how this one goes. And then it's like, okay, now I have 3 loops left. Like, you know, 3 loops left. Like, you know, when I was 3 loops in, I was like, shit, I only have 5 loops left, but now I have 3 loops left. And I'm the exact opposite. So I agree. Yeah, I think that actually worked probably best for me. It's funny you say that in my last race, because I did do that 100%. I remember thinking at the second loop, I was like, God damn, I am sore already. I have 6 loops left. This sucks really bad, but you know, to each their own. Everybody's different, right?
yeah,
So
for sure.
you gotta say different stuff. It gets boring out there. It's a people have said it. It's true. It's a lonely pursuit. It's a lonely, lonely passion. You got to be willing to suffer alone versus, you know, CrossFit. You get to go and, you know, like sling weight around with your friends most of the time. Maybe not during COVID, but
anyway. Yeah, sure. You said you didn't end up learning a language. What do you do during your boring runs?
It's a good
Listen to
question. On my
music?
on my shorter run, on like during the race, I listened to music the entire time. So actually, so this is good. Like you have to be prepared for things story. So at my last race, so it's different on shorter and longer runs. Like on shorter runs, I typically just listen to music. Like I'm just running for a training run. Like I've been running 8 miles every day this week. Like I just, you know, I can bang out 8 miles in a little over an hour, depending on if I'm on the trail or not. So, you know, I'm just listening to some music. But when I was doing my last race, about halfway through, my headphones died, and I don't mean died like you could charge them. Like I had to file a replacement warranty claim. Like the headphones didn't work anymore. So that was problem number 1. Problem number 2 was there was no signal where we were going. So if you don't plan for that ahead of time, like I couldn't stream any music. and then my headphones died. So I couldn't listen to like an Audible book, couldn't listen to a podcast. So I had to do music, but I only had 2 playlists downloaded that were actually like downloaded onto my phone. So for, I mean, roughly the greater portion of, you know, like I would say probably 15 hours, I listened to the same 2 playlists over and over and over again out loud on the speaker on my phone while I was going. So just like I listened to them, I'm not kidding, like over and over, it just kept going. So yes, in terms of being prepared. So it was either you're going to suffer in isolation, like with nothing, or for me, it does help. Like I've noticed a difference when at least, you know, podcasts and Audible books to me, like they don't make me go faster. Maybe they make the time go by quicker. Like I'm not thinking about it, but like, I feel like I can actually like motivate myself to go like a half minute mile faster or a minute mile faster with music. Right. So it's like in a race.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to listen to music just so I can like stay motivated and just kind of like, you know, keep going. But yeah, I got so fucking tired. I was out there for 17 hours and the better portion of that was just the same songs over and over and over again. It was just, I didn't want to suffer alone and, you know, no music. I probably would have gave up, not gave up, but I probably would have like mentally given up quicker. Cause then you're thinking about shit, right? You know what I mean? Like you're just in your head. So I don't know, I'm curious then, do you just listen to music? I know you like podcasts a lot. So do you do just podcasts or?
I do both. Yeah. Music and podcasts. If I'm doing like a speed workout, definitely music. I agree. Okay. And if I'm on the trails, I usually don't listen to anything. I feel like time goes by faster when I'm on the trails, and then I like to pick ones, like different ones all the time. So I'm always like trying to, there's a lot of like offshoots and stuff and just try not to get lost. It's kind of like keeps it more interesting. And I've had a friend like throughout the past year that we've run a lot of trails together too, which has been nice. But yeah, I like to listen to a lot of like true crime podcasts and just random music.
You have a favorite true crime podcast that you would recommend?
I like Last Podcast on the Left and My Favorite Murder.
I've ever listened to that. My Favorite Murder. Yeah, that one's good. I don't think I've ever listened to Last Podcast on the Left.
Yeah, they like combine comedy with it too, so it makes it more entertaining, a little less like depressing because it's, you know, some horrible stories during it, but it's like, it's fascinating to me. And yeah. Do
you do the documentaries too? Do you watch because there's a million true crime documentaries these days now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually listening right now. I'm like in the middle of the Joe Rogan podcast where he talks to two of the guys that work for the Innocent Project or Innocence.
Oh yeah,
Project.
I listened to that one. That was great.
Yeah, so good. That fascinates me a lot. Just like the mass incarceration.
You're in the process of listening to that one? Because I have a question.
Yeah, I have like an hour left or something.
Okay, so I don't remember how long it was because you could be a good portion of the way through. So in that podcast, they talk about like the guy who does the junk science thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got into a huge argument after I listened to that because I tried to tell, Leah and my aunt and uncle about how like the whole, because they go into the shaken baby thing. Did you get there yet?
Yeah, you mentioned that. I was a little.
Oh, did we talk about that? I don't remember, but I got into an argument. Okay, I got into an argument because like they tried to say, like they were scientists and they tried to say that like the shaken baby thing like wasn't real or whatever, I think is what they were trying to say, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they were saying that shaking.
Okay, so I tried to say that.
Yeah, they were saying something about the shaken baby syndrome isn't real. It's because, I don't know, they didn't explain it in detail, at least at the point I was on. Maybe they go into more detail later in the podcast, but yeah, they were saying something like you don't normally shake a baby or something. I was like, yeah, that is true. You don't normally.
I thought their argument was like, you know, like try and pick up like a, you know, whatever, like a 40-pound weight and like shake it, especially when the weight's all, you know, is subjective about where it is in the body. Like you can't physically like shake a child to death is basically what I took out of that. Like they were trying to, maybe I misunderstood or read too much into it, but I took it as, go ahead, sorry, please.
Yeah, it was something like that. And they were saying that, they were like, if you shake it, there's no way it would only have brain damage. It would have other damage to its body than just in the brain or something.
Gotcha, okay.
I think is what they were trying to say. Yeah.
I don't know
About it for me to
my
be
whole
yeah.
argument point though was that I was maybe misinterpreting, but taking it as like they were trying to say like you can't shake a baby to death was what I got it. Like flat line. If you had to make a statement like you can shake like a newborn baby, maybe like a newborn baby to death, right? But like like a full size baby you can't shake to death. And I got into a huge argument with Leah and my aunt and uncle about it. And I was like, no, like I just listened to a podcast and these guys said this, and they were all ganging up on me. So we'll have to circle back. I need your full report after you're done with the podcast. I want to know. I could always just go back and listen to it again, but I need to know what somebody else thinks about it because I trusted them because what they were saying about like the bite mark stuff and all that other shit, like that made a lot of sense. Like I agreed. I looked into it a little bit because they have a podcast about it. It makes sense that like these people go to school for like a really short period of time, right? And then they say they're like experts in this field, and it's really just junk science. What they called it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
And you can just like tell a bunch of jurors like this person's an expert, but you're not allowed to Google anything as a juror. So like, how are you going to know if they're really an expert? And you're just trusting the system. But yeah, it's very weird.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Okay. So last podcast on the left. I know you've mentioned that before though. So I'll have to check that out. I haven't been super hitting my podcasts lately because again, I haven't had headphones that work enough where I can like listen to them because I don't want to like sit around the house listening to a podcast. I'd rather like watch TV or listen to or like read a book if I was going to do something other than watch TV. But yeah, running wise podcast for sure. I agree though on the no music on the trail, especially number one if you're with somebody. But it's boring like if Leah's got her headphones on and she's listening to something and then I'm just like by myself with another person. It's kind of boring, but especially exploring new trails. I think it's huge not listening to music because it's like if I'm running the same thing over and over again every day, then it's boring. It's just like, well, I just want to listen to music and get through it. But yeah, something new or not trying to get lost, like you said, like little offshoots. Probably no music's probably the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you want to do? Yeah, sorry, I didn't even get there. So
So
what's the
I
challenge?
wanted to do the blindfolded drawing challenge. So there's two ways we could do it. I just thought it'd be funny. Basically, we'll just use a random word generator and it'll give us a word and then we have to blindfold ourselves and draw it. And then we can either like both draw the same thing and then have like Leah or Bill or somebody like judge whose looks the most like what we're supposed to draw. Or I could use the word generator, draw something and not tell you what it is. And if you guess what I draw, then I get a point. And then you would go and draw something. Then I'd have to guess what it is.
I think those are both good options. That's fun. That's fun and would be funny. I think those are both good options. Do you have a preference on which one you want to do? Like whether we involve somebody else or if it's kind of subjective in the sense because if we like say I could just because if I could like if I get a point, well, how would it work then? I guess you're saying I would get a point if I guess what you drew.
Yeah.
Right. I think it could be self-manipulated though, because like, go ahead.
I would get the point if you guess what I drew.
Right, but what if I just was a shitty guesser on purpose, right? So yeah, it probably would be better, I guess, if we involved either one or multiple third parties, right? Like Leah and Bill, maybe something like that.
Yeah, it could be funny too to see our two different versions of the same thing.
I like that. Yeah. How much time do you get?
I don't know. I guess we could just like set a clock for like a minute or less. We could do 30
seconds. It depends on if you want to do rounds like best of 3 or best of 5, right? Like if you want to do like best of 5 to get like multiple drawings, then I would say, like probably like a minute's probably good because, we get a couple minutes, 5 minutes to draw, a couple minutes to debrief and have a good chuckle. So yeah, I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those card games like Cards Against Humanity? Because we don't even necessarily have to use like a random word generator. We could do like something where we like pick cards out of a box that have like words on them or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't have any of those games.
Okay. Or we could do a random word generator. Thank you to Elizabeth for coming on. Elizabeth, you can still hear me. I appreciate it. But Elizabeth, thank you for coming on to the show. We are going to move on to the blindfolded drawing challenge, where I'm going to kick Elizabeth's ass at drawing blindfolded. So be sure to watch that.